Some businesses succeed, some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories, those business owners that have been around for decades, learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Fernay.
Well, we're back here at 801 Chase Street. Is that the address? Did I get it right?
Welcome back.
Okay,
yes,
we're at Maryland Hall, and I got something in the mail the other week, which was very interesting. It said that you are celebrating 40 years, and I said, well, there's no better person to talk to than Margaret Davis, who's the CEO and president.
That's what they call me.
At Maryland Hall. But I didn't realize 40 years struck me as very surprising.
How so?
I just didn't think I knew it had been around for a long time, but I would have pictured it in probably the mid 90s. I did not think it would be 40 years.
That's all right.
Which is exciting.
Yeah. And which shows you how forward thinking the founders really were in creating it and in saving this gorgeous structure.
Well, it's true. And I mean, this is part of our legacy business series. I mean, although you are a business, but I mean,
we are a business.
We were just talking before we started recording about how you had a UB40 concert in here last night,
right.
which
might surprise you.
Yeah. It might surprise a lot of people.
Sure. Well, that's the new Maryland Hall. So it's a delight to talk to you, John, always. And you know the community so well, as we were talking. And 40 years is middle age. No middle age crisis here is what I say. We're just really rocket powered for a very successful future. And UB40 is a great example of how the new Maryland Hall is developing a lot of new programming, developing new audiences, really reaching out in ways it hasn't had the opportunity to in the past.
Well, where did it start? Take us back 40 years ago. And I know that you weren't here. You've only been here 2 and
not quite 2.
Okay.
I'm headed towards 2, and I'm very
November?
grateful to. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You've got a good memory.
Okay. You obviously know Maryland Hall very, very well. I
learn something new every day, and I'm always pleased to do that.
One thing that I appreciate that most events here at Maryland Hall, you're on the forefront. And you're the one that's coming out and you're welcoming people to Maryland Hall. Okay,
I feel strongly about that.
Welcome to my living room.
That's right.
And
welcome to our house is really what it is. This is our house is your house. Mi casa is su casa. But it's really
look at that. You're bilingual and everything.
Oh, yeah.
This is
That's about it, John. Hey, we all need to be aware.
But yeah, I mean, I think that really goes a long way. I mean, this is like, hey, this is who I am. This is what we do.
That's right.
Welcome. Enjoy your night. And it could be something as simple as that, or it could be, depending on what you're going for.
Well, that's right. And I would say, John, it's welcome, connect with what we're doing, connect with each other. Let's all celebrate that we're here together. We're putting down our devices. Maybe we want to take a photo of what's going on. But we're here in a live moment, because live anything isn't replicable. Netflix is great in our own living rooms, but a live performance, a live conversation with an artist in front of his or her work in this gallery for free. Live yoga experience on the Labyrinth outside. Live class. I mean, you can't replace that.
Well, I would jokingly say for a musical performance, I'm sure there were plenty of people that were recording the UB40 show.
In spite of our request
last night. And my question to them is, so when are you going to watch it again?
Exactly.
It's just not going to. One of the greatest shows I ever saw, and it wasn't here, unfortunately, it was at the Lincoln Theater in D.C. It was Chrissie Hynde from The Pretenders.
Oh, yeah.
And she had a no photographing, rule and everything else. And she stopped mid-song. She said, hey, wait a minute. Way too many cameras up here. Put them down. I'm not a diva. She says, I'm too old. I'm too haggard. I've lived the rock and roll lifestyle. I can't afford to be a diva. I said, she goes to the guy in the front row. If you play your cards right, you might go home with me tonight, okay? I said, what I'm doing is live in the moment. Nobody does. I mean,
that's right.
You're living your life through a screen, and you're missing all of the other things that are going on around you.
Well, that's right. And it's living the precious present. It goes back to that concept, our precious present. When we had the video art exhibit, I talked to Tom Stoner and Kitty, and the whole concept that was all about nature, about being able to actually immerse yourself in video art that was inspired by nature. And the irony of that is that here at Maryland Hall, you can put your device down and connect even through technology,
right?
Even through video art, into something that really enhances your soul. And you can do it with other people. So this is, people crave being in community with each other. And the other aspect that's new about Maryland Hall is that we're really convening people together and engaging them in inspiring arts experiences. We have had successful decades of providing art, and now that's not going away. We have a lot of art to put on display, a lot of art to present, but it's that and when you come, engage in the art, engage together in what you're doing, experience a radical welcome when you get here from our volunteer ushers.
Right.
Really be happy. Free parking, easy to find, easy to get to, clean corridors, historic building, but then some very new aspects as well, and new classes. What we hear from people who take classes, because everybody's curious about, well, how do you get engaged in glass fusing? Glass is very popular. We've added a new glass instructor. We've expanded the program. Drone photography. A lot of new stuff, right? So people are a little nervous. Well, I don't know how to do this. I'm not any good. I'm not creative. You're just as...
Nobody is.
Nobody is. Right? Nobody is. And I always say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But the idea that we're here together in this class, all trying something, then we start talking to our neighbor. And the art becomes the universal language. The art is not the only aspect of what's going on in that room. It's the connection.
True.
And it's strengthening community by coming together.
How did we get started 40 years ago?
5 wonderful people, including 2 still living, Ellen Moyer, former mayor of Annapolis, and Joanne Scott, just a master watercolorist, came together to say, we need a place for artists to work. And they were, as Joanne would say, they were looking for a few studios, a few rooms they could turn into studios, and they got a 75,000 square foot building.
Do you know how the building was actually acquired? Now the school district still owns the building,
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah, the school district still owns it, so the ownership hasn't changed, but it's a wonderful public-private partnership, one of, I think, most successful in our region. And it requires the support and the partnership of everybody, both donors, individual corporations, foundation donors on the private side, and then we've got private teachers, but then we've got the public piece of the ownership and the partnership from Anne Arundel County and also the school board.
How did it come about? I know that Mike Busch was instrumental in, I'm going to say, the formative years of Maryland Hall, and his wife Cindy had been on the board
over
for
25 years. Mike was involved here for sure, but going all the way back to 40 years ago, it's from what I understand, it was just the way that these artists approached the school board, so that the building wasn't going to get sold, the building wasn't going to get torn down, it wasn't going to get turned into condos, and they were able to work out a wonderful lease arrangement. And then Linnell and others went, my predecessor, obviously, Linnell Bowen, and others went for the historic easement with the Maryland Historic Trust. So this outside and inside, we say, is protected and supported by the Maryland Historic Trust. And that does limit a few things, what we can do in terms of changing it.
Sure.
But it's another great partnership.
I'm just looking at the dates and stuff like that. So we're talking about 1979, which is probably a year or 2 after Annapolis High School.
Oh, it's absolutely tied to the
Open
fact.
up. So the timing. This was being vacated as being a high school.
Oh, absolutely. So Annapolis High School, the new high school, got built over on Riva Road, and this was empty. Yeah, and what was going to happen to it?
Right. So this was surplus at that time.
Sure, for the school board, definitely.
What do we do with it now?
Yeah, and I thank goodness for the vision of these 5 people, and also the founding board and the founding supporters to get it going, and to take it from an old high school to actually where it is today and where we want to go now in the future. Took a lot of work. Well,
I know when I first moved here in the late 90s, it was we had the resident companies, which you've got the Annapolis Opera, you've got the Annapolis Symphony, you've got Ballet Theater Maryland.
Right, and then Live Arts Maryland.
And Live Arts Maryland, which is the chorale. Uh-huh. It used to be just pretty much like an incubator for artists when I came down.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. There would be an artist, and I would know that Josh Cohen, former Mayor Josh Cohen's mother, used to have a studio. Right. Phyllis Avedon had a studio there, and she could create within there. And then when they decided to move things up and it was time to move on and freshen it up, and there was always the big dust up, and they were like, how dare they oust me, and so on. And I'm sure that they were paying a song and dance, if anything, to be here. And they obviously offered some classes. I mean, and it was typical, okay, let's do pot turning. And
now we formalized the Artist in Residence program, which is really what you're describing a little bit of, is foundational to our core, given how we were started. And so what we've done is we've formalized that more, and we have a whole application procedure for picking. We have a committee that actually, I don't pick them. No, we have a committee that picks who actually.
So we got to pay a whole committee for this?
No, we can't just pay you. We don't pay them.
They're not taking any kickbacks or anything like that?
And definitely not. Definitely not. And we're part of the arts district. So the artists who actually pay a very, very modest fee for their studios here get a tax credit to be able to do that. And that's important because studio space, look at what wonderful things have happened to West Street and our whole city, but the rents have gone up, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's hard for artists, whereas ours are really affordable. It's a nice space, good light. And we have now about 5 different artists in residence, plus some house artists. Jay Fleming is here as a special partner. He's great. His printer's here. He creates here. We have other artists, Harley Hope, and then in addition to Elizabeth Kendall, and just a great group of people who are right up there on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor is now alive all the time with both artists working, classes, music. It's got a whole new feel to it. So we still absolutely have that asset program.
Well, the building is, and you've come a long way since that time. I mean, I know in Arts Alive, which is your signature fundraiser every fall, I remember when Arts Alive 1, I believe, came out, and you're probably, at 20-something?
21.
At this
21
point.
now. And actually, this will be the first event of our 40th anniversary year, big celebratory event. We've got concerts like UB40 for our 40th year. They're celebrating their 40th year.
Oh, I never picked up that whole 40
let me
thing
help you out with that.
There you go. I didn't even pick up on that.
There's a good theme for the whole season this year about 40. We're going to have 40 artists under 40. I mean, it's going to be great. All sorts of things we're going to be doing.
Ooh, now I got to look on that. That's
this
okay.
Is a 40th
Interesting
anniversary celebration for with Arts Alive, even though the event is not 40 years old. But they're celebrating our 40.
But I remember the first Arts Alive that was for to replace the windows in the front of the building.
It always benefits something. Yeah.
That was the money that they needed, and the windows were replaced. I mean, the community has really gotten behind this organization.
We're very grateful,
and the organization has also really gotten behind the community as well.
I'm glad to hear you say that. We feel I particularly feel passionate about that. We have to be out in the community, forming partnerships, forming some new partnerships that we haven't had before. And that's taken hold. And we've got, whether it's with the Boys and Girls Club of Annapolis, or we're not just, Maryland Hall is outside these walls as well as inside these walls. And we're out there talking to people. I was honored to be on the City Dock Committee and still working on the City Dock plans. And we've got to be partners.
Yeah, you're part of that committee of 100?
Committee of 100.
Okay.
I'm still honored to be asked. And, it's interesting because I think that people are pleased to see Maryland Hall out there. It's been a few years to see that we're really visibly connected. A great example of that, John, is our outreach program, which we call ArtReach. And this is primarily for children. There are also seniors in it, but of limited means and who are really part of a high-risk or higher-risk population. Maryland Hall is centrally located to most low and income and public housing in this region. We're only within 5 miles. Now, 5 miles is a long way if you don't have transportation. So we're really committed to reaching out. But these are our partners. And so what can we do to engage with the community and really help, as we say, heal, inspire, and empower the kids who go through our outreach program, particularly, for example, Jóvenes Artistas. And that's a powerful program where the kids stay in it up to 7 years. For example, they come in middle school, they go through high school. We even have alumni now who come back. They help with the program. They don't want to leave it. And we've got kids. I'll show you something. Zenaida Sanchez says this program saved her life. She's now at Anne Arundel Community College.
Right.
Yeah. And this is a little hidden gem that people don't really know we're doing that is totally supported by private contributions. About $100,000 a year, and Arts Alive has supported that program in the past too. And how we're reaching out to a couple thousand kids and engaged with them. They painted, maybe you saw the BG&E Transformer Power Square box, right. Kids were out there. I'll show you some pictures of it. I'll come up with them, but out there painting them. And it was really not only heartwarming, but really important for the kids to be involved in that activity.
I know you've done some programs with the kids. I know we'll say the ugly boarded up windows on the backside of the high school.
Thanks for noticing.
are beautiful murals now, and I know that you worked with Future History Now and Jeff Huntington.
We did. Do you know how that came about? I was standing over there getting a tour of Bates with the terrific principal and his staff, and learning more about what we could be doing together. And I looked back at Maryland Hall and I said, that has to change. That has to. And let's get the kids involved. So Jeff, and also a whole bunch of teaching artists. Every panel had a teaching artist. Mm-hmm. And we brought Tola and Jeff and Deontay Ward. We're very involved with Black Wall Street. Right. And then the kids. And look how gorgeous it turned out.
It's beautiful. And
it's a great
throws great color out to the back of Maryland Hall.
It does.
Which is now doubling as a second main entrance, if you will.
It is. It's beginning to. Yeah,
and it's also certainly brightens up the view from Bates, which sits down the hill behind us.
And I think that's the most important aspect of it, is to enrich
and with
those
Bates
lives.
being the magnet art school
for middle school
in the area, to be able to turn around and see art.
Well, that's right. And we've always had a strong relationship with Bates, really helped get the whole PVA program going. Mike Busch was very involved in founding the PVA program with the schools. And we still have important representation on our board from the schools. And we really believe, it's about partnership. I'm a huge believer in collective impact. We all need to be working together. Let's stop duplicating resources. Let's work together to actually have a greater impact on our whole community. And this is, we think, region-wide. This is about, yes, county, yes, city, but beyond that. With some of these programs, whether it was last night's UB40 or Melissa Etheridge coming up, or hopefully some pretty exciting ones as well next after the first of the year. Those
like
attract from, I can't tell you.
Oh, come on.
I'll call you and let you know when the contract's signed. Let's just say Lucinda Williams that's coming up, because she's a big draw.
Right.
Last time I saw Lucinda Williams was over at Ramshead, but the following is so large. She has this incredible jazz voice.
Right.
Her voice is an instrument like no other, I think. And she's coming here to Maryland Hall. That partnership with Ramshead is very important to us. That is an audience development programming partnership.
Well, it really is, because you also, certainly it has to do with the improvements that you've made here to Maryland Hall that makes it attractive to Ramshead.
Sure.
But now you've got the ability for Ramshead to, I'm going to say, go after some, I hate to say A-list talent, because that makes it sound like it's not A-list that's performing there on
People
stage,
who have a wider audience.
That would have a wider draw and whatnot to be able to. Yes, I can sell out a room for 300 without a problem, but this is somebody that can sell out an auditorium of 800.
That's right.
Is that what you're 850?
720 now.
720. Okay.
720 now. Then we're headed to renovate the balcony, which really needs to be renovated, and we're headed for a whole Act 3 part of our future, which is the continued renovation, refurbishment, and new construction of this next phase.
Right.
And
by the way, the balcony is my favorite place to see things up there.
It's got great sight lines. I'd like to get you a little more leg room. So our plan is to renovate the balcony. We'll probably lose a few seats up there in order to get our guests.
Leg room can work. And I will say the renovation down in the auditorium did give it a lot of extra leg room.
It did. They're great seats. And the acoustics are excellent. We're going to enhance the acoustics a little bit more for the louder acts. It's really a well-tuned room for classical music, and it works quite well for spoken word and film. It can work even better for rock and jazz and popular acts. So
I've seen some really good shows that untraditional shows that
That's great.
The ballet and I've seen the ballet and the symphony and the opera. I'm not a huge opera fan. I mean, I'm unapologetic. I've tried it. It's just not my thing. But
incredible diversity of programming that we're offering.
But it's just fantastic what you've got. And then you sit there and see. I guess Dennis. I don't know if it was Dennis DeYoung, but Styx. The remnants of Styx was here.
That's right. The remnants of Styx. Art Garfunkel came back. It's pretty incredible. And, we underwrite the resident company programming because some people would say, well, but if they, why are we presenting art that can't fund itself? And my feeling very strongly is it's our mission to present art, and ticket sales will never cover art. So we actually use our resources to help underwrite all four of those resident companies. And World Artist Experience, we've got 2 other major partners, Naples Film Festival and World Artist Experiences. All of those programs for World Artist Experiences are free.
Right.
And yet we still have costs.
And they're bringing in the musicians and the dancers and the performers and whatnot from all over the world.
That's right. And then we provide the facilities and manage those for them and help them.
So when you do a paid performance like UB40 or Melissa Etheridge or that profit, provided that there is profit, it's a risky business. I mean, when you book, but that will go to help support.
It's one way to look at it, though. I got to be honest with you. It's a break-even proposition. I always say, let's not lose money on our programming risks. Let's at least break even, and then let's bring in the underwriting, the sponsorships to help those shows do better.
Sure.
So we rely, for example, for our free and reduced and low-cost programming, and then our resident company and partner programming, we rely on contributions and grants to help support them.
But I've also got to think when you throw on a show like UB40 again, and we keep going back to that just because it's the most recent when we're recording this, but you've had a sellout auditorium of 729. I don't know whether it was 700 people. You've got to imagine that 300 of them have probably never been to Maryland Hall or haven't been recently.
That's exactly right. I usually, you've seen me take the poll. I always say, who's new to Maryland Hall? Welcome.
Yeah.
I love that part of it because it does attract a lot of new people.
And they're hooked. They're looking at the art that's on display on the wall. Mm-hmm. They're looking at the Martino Gallery. They're looking at the Cheney Gallery to see what's there. They're just sort of roaming around. Maybe even marveling at the, oh my gosh, this is like a flashback to the bathrooms in elementary school and the old.
We can't change the bathrooms.
With the old radiators.
But we're going to improve them. We're going to improve them.
And just the wonderful things that you've done. Now, I will say that you're sort of like that politician that got elected after the project's already been awarded. You get to cut the ribbon on...
I'm very sensitive. There are a lot of people came before me to do a lot of hard work.
And on the expansion that we've done, I want to talk a little bit about this as we've moved from the past into the present. A huge expansion on the backside, and I don't want to sell you short because I know that it was in the works before you had come, and you had the privilege and the honor to cut the ribbon and have that first show go on.
My job, John, was to bring it in on time and on budget. And it was a very tricky year, my first year, because the site conditions were a lot of unknown things, a lot of delays in that project. No question, Linnell, the campaign committee, a lot of people worked hard to raise the funds for it, and we couldn't have done it without that. So I'm very grateful. Shovel went in the ground. Construction fronts went up right before Linnell's retirement, and then the torch got passed, and it's like, okay, it's yours to pull off.
Right.
And we did, and a good team around here. And now, and that production wing, can you imagine? No loading dock, no freight elevator before that production, no gas line. We needed gas heat. Think of the efficiencies, new HVAC systems. We paid for those.
Well, I had also heard for years that several of the resident companies, namely the ballet, and I guess probably the opera, that would require sets.
Oh, I know. They were coming up the front entrance.
They're basically saying, this is the biggest pain in the ass place to do it here for 2 weekends of shows without that.
That's right.
And they were, actively looking for something else. Certainly, is there another place we can do this?
Right.
That's a decision they needed to make, and obviously that's a decision that Maryland Hall needed to make to what can we do to help these people out. But you've really the first phase of the renovation, if you will, was upgrading the auditorium.
Right.
And
it was focused on the audience, focused on the guest. The first phase needs to improve the guest experience. Second phase was mainly back of house so that we could actually offer more shows, more programming, flip the stage faster. Also, we brought the Bowen Theater online in the second phase. So take a old, tiny high school gym annex and raise the floor 18 inches, totally change the acoustics and the design, and now make it a premier, put a digital projector in there, make it a premier spot for film or chamber music or jazz.
It's a state-of-the-art. It's almost like what do they call it, the black box theater?
Yeah, it's a black box theater that is more for film, spoken word, and chamber music than it probably is for theater. Right.
But I know that they have the Annapolis Film Festival is this is one of the major venues of the. It's
really where most of the films are
with the big audience. Sure, the big films are going to be here because you've got the Linnell Bowen Theater down in the basement. I keep wanting to say the basement, but it's on the first floor.
It's on the first floor.
On the G level.
That's right.
Which is a wonderful room. That was a room and I will say thank you very much. I was involved with organizing the Wendy Winters PR Bazaar, and you guys were wonderful to work with, too. Dennis was fantastic. And
he's a great guy.
It was like, what do you think they're going to charge? I said, I'm going to try to really get them to charge us nothing. And you really did step up for that. And it was a wonderful evening.
Thing. Again, that goes into our mission, John, to convene. We're about convening and engaging residents and visitors from the whole region together in inspiring experiences, arts experiences that then strengthen community. What you just described is exactly what we are doing and what we'll be doing more of. And that goes back to the new Maryland Hall. Where are we at 40? We're strong, we're successful, we're debt-free, we've got good finances, and now we are zooming forward. We're going to need a lot of resources to get there.
Sure.
Because, what they say, vision without resources is hallucination. So we've got great vision. Now we need the resources, and we'll get there.
Well, what is your moving forward? The back of the house improvements that you were talking about were a big, huge freight elevator, which goes to every single level of the, of the facility. There are dressing rooms, there are green rooms, there's office space back there for, say, a band's management. To come in there and work. I know Ram's Head was very excited to be able, when they had a large show there, that they could have somebody on site working.
That's right.
Any things that would happen to come up. You've got lots of storage.
Double-decker door, so loading door.
Lots of places to store props and equipment and sets and
lights and chairs and music stands that all used to have to be stored on stage. There was no room for anything. And now we can push the acoustic shell back. Jose Luis Novo from the symphony, the conductor, said he couldn't even dream of having Beethoven's Ninth or the Naval Academy Glee Club on stage before, because we didn't have either the space or the acoustics to handle it. And we've invested in making sure we've got both.
Question for you: was the orchestra pit, was that an addition?
It was. Yeah, we created it. Yeah.
So that was when you did the audience?
That's right, when we did the auditorium in Act 1. So Act 1 was the theater, though we still need to do the balcony.
Okay.
And then Act 2 and the stage. There were some really important stage improvements like the acoustic shell.
Okay.
Still need to do more. We've just switched, for example, to all LED lighting. That was a big investment. That's part of early stage Act 3. So that was Act 1, stage and theater. Act 2 is back of house, the south wing, which is the new production wing, the Bowen Theater, dressing rooms, as you said.
Right. And that, for those that don't know, if you're ever going to something in the Bowen Theater, the life pro tip is to park down at Bates, walk up the hill, and there is a back entrance in there. It's like a 2-story glass entrance. It's very obvious, brand new sidewalks.
It's the best way to get to that space.
And it dumps you out right there in the lobby, right before the Bowen Theater.
That's right. So here's a secret that I'm sure you know, but your listeners may not know, is that's the temporary entrance to the Bowen Theater. That the new north wing that is in final design and that we'll need to raise a lot of money for, is going to go, it's a companion footprint to the south wing. It's going to go right to the north. That'll actually be a new destination north entrance for all of Maryland Hall. Because right now, John, you think about it, the main entrance to Maryland Hall, you have to go upstairs to the second floor. It's beautiful, it's historic.
Right.
But every other entrance here is kind of a side door. It works well if you know how to get in and out of here and you know where you're going. But we have an opportunity with this new north wing that is essential to build. and I can tell you a little bit why, that make that a destination north entrance right across from the largest parking lot. Probably have drop-off, may even be offering valet parking.
Okay.
Certainly, when you think about it, there will be driverless cars in our future, so it'll be an opportunity for drop-off there.
Right.
It'll be a ride-share pickup drop-off spot, too. Then our big dream, is to have a glass bridge on the second level. So you take stairs or an elevator up, glass bridge on the second level to connect to the historic building. And it will be beautiful, and it'll be so important.
So this
for our
north wing that you're
guests.
talking about is basically going to mimic, for lack of a better word, the storage wing in the back of the house that you've done.
The footprint and the profile.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to be the storage on, as you're looking from the rear of Maryland Hall on the right. This will be on the left.
That's right. If you're looking from the
So this
west
wing will
side.
sit outside of the current building.
Right. It'll attach just like the other one.
Yeah.
It'll attach to that, what is the northwest corner of the historic.
Where the parking lot is currently now.
There's some parking lot there now, and
Yeah.
we'll obviously need to accommodate that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we won't lose too many spaces.
What's your time frame on that? I mean, I know obviously you
as soon
can't.
as we raise the money.
I mean, what would you like to see? Would you like to see that done in
I'd love
5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Oh no, I'd love to get a shovel in the ground within 2 years. That would be, I think, our dream. What we're going to do with Act 3 is that, John, that was always part of Act 3, this building. What we did is we added the glass bridge to it because we feel strongly there needs to be a good way to get from that north entrance all the way, and vice versa. We get into the historic building, and for people who come into the historic building to get over there. In addition, that'll give us stage-level dressing rooms. We have no stage-level dressing rooms. Got to have stage-level dressing rooms.
Okay.
For a variety of obvious reasons. It's some more back-of-house support that actually exists in the historic building but has not been renovated for our resident companies and our use back of house for props and wigs and costumes and dance costumes and things like that. And then almost every room in this historic building will be upgraded. And really, again, this is about the guest experience. We want you to be able to come here and have a good experience with the right kind of public space. We've got the galleries on the north side of the second floor. On the south side of the second floor, the main hallway, the main floor for all the public, we're actually going to put in a multi-use room with these gorgeous windows.
Right.
Now we're looking east, from the inside east towards the flagpole. Multi-bayed room that can be used again for new gallery space. It could be used for pre-concert talks, be used for receptions, gathering spaces for convening groups together. The county executives, anti-gun violence task force could meet there.
Right.
It gives us a lot of flexible space both for the public and the community to use on the floor that is the heaviest used floor.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that. The other thing I'm excited about is bringing all of the resident companies together in office space that's co-located so that we can convene and collaborate more easily together and really talk and plan seasons, years in advance together.
Okay.
And that's, believe it or not, geography is not our friend in this building sometimes.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I know that Valley Theater,
Yeah.
Maryland, their offices are in the industrial park.
Right. And Diana comes over here and Nicole come over here all the time to meet with us and talk. But wouldn't it be great to run into them in the hallway and actually start planning the season together?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they have something, I
Exactly.
solved that problem right away.
You see some of the new collaboration with our resident companies and even with Maryland Federation of Artists, with some of our art exhibits that are focused on both visual and performing arts. So we're combining that visual art with the performing arts and the creative arts. And I love that cross-disciplinary piece. Kind of what we did with Blues at Home. With H.C. Porter's work, who's one of our artists in residence. And we brought blues musicians up from Mississippi to play on the stage, where she'd also captured those portraits in her big work that she did on blues.
I think that I love the way that art in general has really sort of evolved. I mean, when people of my age, you think art is the stuffy, pictures hanging on walls in museums. And I will say that I probably got exposed to art a little bit more when I came to Annapolis, just more of I'll say the bizarre art. There was I'm going to draw a blank on his name. I'm trying to remember his name. Babington Walker, and I don't know whether he's still here or not.
Great name.
But he was doing a portrait in the window of perhaps 49 West, could have been Tsunami.
Oh, sure.
And he was drinking red wine and spitting it out between his teeth to create a portrait of Lincoln. And it was, I'm like, okay, that's really bizarre. This is the same guy that went out on one of the Fringe festivals and did another port with blowtorches. And, and
wouldn't it be great to bring that back? Or even to talk about art in construction. Have people see what goes in. We often only see the finished product. What if we all learned about what goes into it? What are the products that we never see? The
passion that you exude, as well as the artist. I mean, these guys aren't making millions and millions of dollars. I mean, they're not. I'm going to say probably Rodriguez is anomaly that can sell his Blue Dog pictures for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I mean, these guys are putting their blood, sweat, tears, passion into it,
and their own resources.
I imagine it's sort of like racing horses to a degree. You put an awful lot of work and effort into it, and then you hopefully you win one, and then it holds you over till the next time.
Our artists are creative about how they cobble together a living, and I think Maryland Hall is the perfect cultural hub to bring all the different artists together, be they working independently. I don't think people should have to be part of our resident companies to be here and partner with us. We don't want that. So how do we bring the whole artist community together so we can be stronger, both individually and then also for our whole region? And we've got a role in that. We don't have it defined yet. We want input from people on where should we go with that concept. Right. But why not here? If not here, where? And we should be doing that. And we should be looking at the future and again, partnering with the people who care about art and also this community. I look at some of the programs that we've held recently. An example would be the Maryland Lynching Project, with Connecting the Dots, or how we convened that group. We had films, we had panel discussion afterwards. We're together. We made a commitment that let's write new chapters of our racial history together for this community.
Right.
And let's face our history. Let's move forward, and let's do so. Let's think about how can art help support that. And we're not talking about art that's just on the walls, right? It's the art of conversation. Yeah. It's the art of discourse.
Yeah. The changes that you've made, several significant changes. I mean, we've got booze that's now for sale here, which never happened before. So, I mean, obviously somebody beat up somebody at the school district to say
it was a good conversation. But make an exception for a couple properties were one.
which is wonderful.
Never for family programs.
No. I mean, I think I think it's wonderful. I mean, that was probably one of the downsides that not that this is a place that you go and you get your drink on and get all rowdy and whatnot, but I mean, to sit there and have a glass of wine, to have a beer.
We have the cafe at Maryland Hall,
which is interesting. Okay, I want to talk about that. That is not. You don't have employees working that.
How about that? We've got school children working that, and that's a partnership.
Child labor laws.
We call it culinary arts training.
Well, this is a project of Cat South.
That's right.
It used to be a privately run cafe, and it had various different owners throughout the years. I believe.
I think this is 8.0.
I mean, I think Brian Callahan got his start here.
I think he was the first to have a coffee cart here.
I know Gary Amoth had it for a while, and there was several other people. And it was really hit or miss it for a period of time.
And do you know what their common denominator was that we don't have now? And I respect that. And we're all business people. The motive was different. They needed to make money. We don't need to make money, and Anne Arundel County Public Schools isn't in it to make money. So isn't it great? We've joined together, and it's about the kids.
Right. And there's a kid that's getting out of high school,
that's right,
into the workforce that says, I built a restaurant.
Right.
I worked it. I managed it. I designed the menus or whatever it may be. Definitely come support that cafe if you get a chance down in the first level of Maryland.
And talk to the kids behind the counter. They've got great stories, and ask them what they want to be doing. And
another change that I've noticed, you never made an announcement of it that I realized, but this whole for the creative arts seems to have gone away. This is no longer Maryland Hall for the creative arts.
We definitely are always about creative arts. I would say it's important to recognize, what do people call us?
Okay.
People call us Maryland Hall. And I will say, on September 6th at Arts Alive, we will have a very exciting announcement that will play into this part of our conversation, John, but I'm not going to tell you any more than that. So come one and come all, and we'll make a big announcement of it. Nonetheless...
Comcast bought you, didn't they?
No.
It's called Comcast Hall for the Creative Arts, isn't it?
Right. No. But we are pleased and honored by their partnership, I will say that.
Comcast is great.
Comcast is great. They've been a great partner for a long time. I think the point is people call us Maryland Hall, and the other aspect is I think you'll see that we are going to be injecting the concept of what we are in the arts into our name a little differently moving forward in September and on. I can give you that peek.
Well, personally, I think it's Maryland Hall from the Creative Arts sounded a little bit stuffy, sounded a lot stuffy, and a little bit elitist.
I think people don't know what the creative arts means. Like, what does that mean? And I'm with you. Do you know we don't talk about patrons here. We talk about guests. Mm-hmm. We talk about visitor services. And we feel it's really important to welcome everyone. We are art for all. So we can't be...
Which has a place for the creative arts underneath that.
That's right.
Under the art for all.
We are absolutely art for all. And so we want to be as accessible as possible and also as specific. And it goes back to who are we? We are the region's cultural hub. I mean, isn't that a great image? We're the hubcap, and we've got all these spokes of all these different programs and ways to engage in these inspiring arts experiences that truly can change your personal life, can bring your family together, can strengthen our whole community. That happens both here and then outside these walls, sponsored by us. As we're engaged around the community, painting, electrical boxes in different communities, and hopefully involved in City Dock and things like that.
Without a doubt. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I love the history of Maryland Hall. I love where you've grown, and
thank you. Looking
forward to the North Wing and holding you to it. 2 years.
Thank
shovels
you.
In the.
That's right. 2 years. We're going to aim for it. North Wing and refurbished historic rooms in the historic building. Really, it's about guest services. So hold me to improved guest services. Radical welcome is what we say. Mm-hmm. Inside and out.
And again, I would suggest everybody go check out marylandhall.org.
Thank you, John.
Because you're going to be surprised.
You are.
UB40, come on.
Get on our email list. We're all inundated with that stuff, but this is the stuff that will surprise you. You'll see our very high energy blasts that people are saying, wow, I don't want to miss them. I always want to know what's coming up because something exciting is coming up.
Right.
It won't always be in print because we've got new stuff happening all the time.
Right. And if you are a fan and you have a passion for any of the 5 resident companies, whether it be a chorale or a symphony or ballet or opera or what did I miss?
So we've got 4 resident companies plus then the film festival, and then I always say World Artist Experience and the Artist in Residence. So we've got ballet, opera, symphony,
orchestra.
Exactly.
And I mean, if that is a passion for you and you didn't know that it was here, shame on you. Go to marylandhall.org, check it out, and support them. I mean, they're world-class musicians.
They are. And, one thing you don't want to miss is the opening of our resident company season. We're 12 months a year, so we've got a 12-month-a-year cycle. Our resident companies really start in September and pretty much conclude in May. Well, the opening of our whole resident company season, in addition to a lot of other shows, is the Live Arts Chorale with Broadway star Rebecca Luker. She's a Tony-nominated star, and she's got a beautiful voice. Many people say that she's the heir to Barbara Cook or Julie Andrews.
Okay.
And, how great that she's going to be on the Maryland Hall stage. It's kind of how I felt with Denise Graves coming for the opera closer last year. How amazing that she is right here in our own town in this region. So that's a not to miss, one of many, but.
You talk about Arts Alive as being your fundraiser, but you get all these grants from the state. You get, and obviously I think every nonprofit in the world is hunting down and sniffing grants. I'm still waiting for the mayor's ninja grant store on Main Street or whatnot. And the resident companies do rely on subscriptions and support from their audiences, but Maryland Hall in general, I mean, you need money. I mean,
absolutely. Our funding model is we're a public-private partnership. So the state helps us a lot with many of our capital projects. But this next Act 3 is going to require about $11 to $12 million to get done. That's a lot of money. And we're grateful that the state is already into this total project of about $25 million to the tune of $9.5 million. The rest has been coming from private support. So it's really private donations coupled with the county, Annapolis City, and definitely the state.
Well, and I do want to point out, I mean, you said earlier that you're debt-free.
We are. We're debt-free and financially well-managed.
If I'm looking to cough up a couple bucks here to Maryland Hall, I mean, you're managing the money pretty well if you're debt-free.
I feel that's an essential aspect of my job. And in fact, we have a mantra around here that this is not our money. It's your money, John. It's the state's money. It's your listeners' money. And
you're just a steward.
We're a steward, and we're a facilitator of philanthropy, and we also have a responsibility to make the best investment with it. So every contract I sign, every decision we make for an improvement, I always say, is this the best use of the money? Is it going to reach the most number of people? How do we make this place better for art for all? You know, our key mission of what we're doing here. We've got to do that, and we do. And so I'm really pleased. We also have a reserve fund, an operating reserve fund.
Right.
So if we had a real problem, we could get through it. But that doesn't pay for the day to day. So John, we've got a $3 million budget, and we got another $11.5 million of capital to raise. We have a big campaign on now, and you'll hear more and more about it. And we need everybody to help. I mean, a membership is a great way to engage. Tremendous benefits. It's a great way to get the information, and then you start growing your support there. We did have we've got a number of members who jump in at the higher levels right away because they appreciate what we have. But there's an energy here of connecting, of enriching, of engaging. You know, people want to be engaged and come out of their houses and be together at exciting happenings. We have happenings here. We call them inspiring arts experiences, but they're happenings. You don't want to miss it.
I do encourage people, get memberships, donate.
Thank you.
I mean, if you've got the capability to do it, and you're not familiar with Maryland Hall, come take a look at it. I'm sure that you can come knock on Margaret's door, and she'll gladly take you for.
I will always do that. That's why I have my door open, and our doors are open all the time. So come visit.
MarylandHall.org. You will be surprised. Margaret Davis, who is the CEO and president of the organization, doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Took the step back when somebody
the torch.
took the torch. That's right. Carried the torch from. Linnell Bowen ran this for
21
from the start,
years.
and has.
I'm so honored to succeed her. Yeah.
She's really a driving force. I would say her and Ellen Moyer,
absolutely,
are two of the driving forces to get arts recognized.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just wonderful what Maryland Hall is doing, looking forward into 2020 and beyond.
It's going to be an exciting next 40 years, and I'm honored to help launch it. And with your help, we'll get there.
Sounds great. I'm not going to be here for 40 years. I'm not planning on that one, but you know.
Me either, but but we'll launch it together. How
there
about
you go.
that? We'll get it going.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Ion Annapolis. Please be sure to visit ionannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.